Hills 90210 and Melrose Place are back on their very own channel.
Sure you ready for this?
This is something we are going to remember for the rest of our lives.
Watch Beverly Hills 90210 on Pluto TV.
So it's time to look back at 2020. Ugh. Okay, the best part of 2020, the Beverly Hills 90210 show. To find out how a dude from New Jersey
I really am a Claire.
wanted to start a podcast because he was obsessed with Beverly Hills 90210, would meet two of the influential writers and producers on the series who turned out to be actually f***ing hilarious.
And they both told me, orange juice, that way, you get high and you get a little nourishment.
Yeah, Andrew wasn't the boss's daughter.
Okay. Donna.
To meet them and other writers and producers and network executives and then cast members and then guest stars and then his one and only TV crush. And if it's not even enough, he would experience it with fans all over the world. So sit back and get ready because it's time for the best of the Beverly Hills 90210 show.
Winter, spring, summer, fall, seasons change, we still keep it together.
Hey Beverly Hills 90210 fans, are you ready to dive deep, episode by episode, storyline by storyline, character by character, as we break down the making of your favorite zip code, with your hosts, Charles Rosen.
Did I say that?
Mary
All
Mullins.
this heinous thing about the real person, and we're going, what? We're getting rid of this guy.
Pete Ferrero.
I'm feeling wonderful. Kathleen looks TV crush-worthy.
Like so many special guests. And all your questions. Live on the Beverly Hills 90210 show. Oh, yeah. Everybody dance now.
Hello, here we are. We are here.
I love that origin story. That's pretty cool.
Right. How the Beverly Hills 90210 show got started. It's exciting. We decided to take it easy, which is never easy for us here, and do a best of show. But then we had to go through all the clips, and Charles had to figure this all out, and then Larry had to pick some clips out, and Melanie had to get, and then Todd, our editor, had to do this. So nothing's ever easy here. But it is going to be a lot of fun because we're going to revisit a lot of the great things that happened this year. I mean, I know that people have said that 2020 has been a rough year. I think that's an understatement. It's turning the corner, I think, but they've said that this show has been sort of a highlight for them. I wanted to share this clip, Charles. Most people don't know this, but I was starting to get into podcasting, and Charles was one of the first people that I really wanted to talk to and do a podcast with because I was just fascinated with the world of 90210. And we recorded an interview about the Rolling Stones a long time ago. Now it feels like a long time ago. And I have audio from that first chat, and then I'm going to, because we didn't record with video then, it was in podcast. I have audio from our first chat, and I'm going to play that, and then I'm going to say hello to these guys and get Charles and Larry's memories and all this stuff. So here's this small little clip.
Very good. Well, usually I tell people when they meet me that I'm a native of Los Angeles, but I only look and sound like I'm from New Jersey. Yeah, I'm ready when you are, Peter.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So I'm so excited to have Charles Rosen here on the Pop-Up Podcast. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm a 90210 super fan and a Rolling Stones super fan. So it was almost like you guys made this episode specifically for me. Right off the bat, just to confirm, that's not true. You didn't make this. You weren't like, there's this kid in Jersey we're making this episode for, right?
I have to be truthful. Of the 144 episodes that I produced, this is the one I made for me.
You.
I like that. Me and Larry, because he's a Stone fan. He doesn't even like the Beatles, so that's what. No, don't like the Beatles. Right?
Fascinating.
They were threatening, all that long hair, and the girls liked them and stuff. I didn't like that, Oh yeah, it was competition. Yeah. So I was in a band in middle school, and my whole point was to try to imitate Mick Jagger with the tambourine singing "Last Time."
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Maybe the last time, I don't know. Rolling. We all were, we remember that when they were sang blues.
That's right.
Also,
Melanie, Pete called me and Larry wanted me to do this. I kept saying no, because I was doing writing for about 90210, thinking I would publish a book and dovetail on the success of the reboot. Thanks. I got other stuff to do. I expended when we did the fan fest. 90210, we had the nice run there. That nice, and we were over. And you kept coming, and I kept saying no, and you kept, and then you used the magic words, Rolling Stones, and I said, I'll talk about that one.
Yeah, I remember that. That was sort of the start of all of this.
Absolutely, and Larry still, resents the fact that they put on a Wednesday and we got bad ratings.
Very mad about that.
But that was fun to revisit. And then I said, then the 2020 happened, and the pandemic took over us, and we talked again. And I said, well, why don't we do something else again? And do you have somebody else that you can bring onto the mix? And you said, what about my buddy Larry Mullen? And then Larry came into the mix. Larry, you had you done any podcasting or talking about 90210 other than maybe Shari Weiss's stuff?
Oh yeah, we'd done some stuff. We had done some Reels documentaries and
right,
some entertainment, Hollywood true stories, and over the years, but the show hadn't really reignited until maybe about 5 years ago. Really started, when the cast started getting back together again. Thanks to Darren Martin, and it just, there seemed to be a synergy then. And then all of a sudden we opened up with more streamers and more cable channels that were running the stuff. And so, I mean, now it's great to see we have this great audience out there, really loyal fans, and globally too. And what the heck? I mean, for us, it's been a great chance to, look back at the stuff we hadn't seen in, decades and feel pretty good about it. And plus reunite with all friends and old colleagues. I mean, so it's been a real win-win in a difficult year.
Oh, absolutely. And Melanie, I wanted to say hello to you. Melanie came in, I don't know where, like around the Super Show period, I feel like you joined us, and you were doing a very cool locations thing, but we had been talking a little bit prior to that.
We met for tacos. That was one of the highlights of my year was, meeting you and getting involved with the podcast. So,
I remember that.
Yes.
Well, the Padres getting to the postseason, I thought was pretty exciting for you, no?
Oh, Slam Diego, California was another highlight of the year for me. Yes, the Padres. And now we picked up a couple new players, so we'll see what 2021 has to bring.
Melanie,
Chuck had 2 championships. We should recognize you. It's a big deal.
2 championships,
LA boy,
a marriage. 2020
you
got Biden and Harris.
That's right.
Yeah, it came out okay for Charlie.
Yeah, for me too.
Yes,
Melanie, if you had to rank those 2 things, the Padres or meeting me, which would be higher in the ranking?
Whew. Boy, Pete, put me on the spot. That's a tough one. I mean, I would have to say probably the Padres, no offense, because it's been 14 years since we made it to the postseason, but a close second would be meeting you. So
thank you so much. I appreciate being there. And I was just kidding. All right.
Yeah, I'm surprised with that answer since I know Pete pays you more than the Padres do.
Oh, really? Is the check in the mail, Pete?
It's Bitcoin.
I'm curious though, for Melanie, how did you discover our show and what did you think of it when you first found it?
So actually one of my friends had been listening and she turned me on to it. And, right from the get-go, I was immediately drawn in. I, grew up watching 90210 and all those wonderful 90s shows. And I just loved the chemistry between you guys and the behind the scenes. Having worked in TV and production and behind the scenes myself, I really appreciated all of the writer perspectives and some of the, production stuff you guys have discussed. So that really fascinated me from the get-go. And then snowballed from there. I love watching and now I love, being a part of it too. So thank you for that.
Amazing. All right, let me show you the first episode. I'm not going to show you the whole first episode, but a little bit of how we got into this. And it's, we have to acknowledge Lily was a very important part in the beginning of the series. She had an amazing fan group of loyal fans that were looking for new content. And so we reached out to her. I reached out to her and she joined us. And this is how we first got started. All right, we are here.
Exactly. You guys
on the very first episode here of the Beverly Hills 90210 show. And I have our panel of experts and fan fans. Let's reintroduce everybody here. We have Larry Mullen.
Hello.
So tell everybody when you were with 902.
I like to say that I'm the college years. I wrote the first episode of College, and I wrote the last episode of College. There were 128 episodes in between.
Very cool. And then we have Lily, who's with us, representing the fans on this episode, right?
Yes, Lily Emmeram, and I help manage 3 of the Facebook groups.
Very cool. And then, of course, the legendary Charles Rosen. Why don't you tell us when you were there and some of the things that you did?
Well, I was there right after they started shooting the pilot. They had finished the pilot and they got the series ordered. And that was as I started in June. We went into production in August. We made our first day. We didn't go overtime, which probably made the biggest difference of anything. And then we premiered on October 4th, 1990, my father's birthday. And I stayed around. We crammed 6.5 years of TV into 5 years, and I left after the Palm Springs P.S. I Love You, which ended season 5.
So between the two of you, we go up to about season 7, College, when College was.
That's right. And for the purposes of this podcast, this show ended in season 7.
That's right. That's
Fair enough.
Well said. Well said.
Yes. That's a common fan comment. I get that message a bunch about the show should have ended in season 8. You know what I mean? I do get that. I am a diehard. I go all the way to 10. Sometimes it's really hard, but other times it's a little bit easier, I guess. Well, I mean, that was the first show. I mean, we came a long way. We didn't know. I mean, listen, figuring out how to do the podcast is a challenge in itself. But then figuring out how to do a podcast in the pandemic, where everybody's virtual and we don't have the perfect sound systems and all that stuff, that all came with time. But it was a challenge for us to figure out how to make all of these things sort of work. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, just looking at the the technical aspects of it, yeah.
And can we talk about Larry's background for a second? Watching that first clip, watching Larry's video compared to where you're at now. I mean, what an improvement! You get the award for most upgraded background. And sorry to cut you off there,
It's
Charles.
true. I just realized. I said, you know what? This is going to be the future now for America. I think we're all going to be remote, so I might as well just get used to it and get better equipment.
Yes.
Well, I take away from the first one to this one is I'm wearing the same shirt.
Excellent. Oh no,
the more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess.
Wow.
It's important, listen, I think we started to figure out the flow of like everybody who's getting into a new show or something. We try to figure out the flow. Charles was really important. An important moment that people will never understand this is that we had a very important conversation about structure. And I learned quite a bit in those initial conversations about how are we going to structure the conversations of these podcasts. And that became such a difference maker in the show as we started to go on. And then eventually, I think we got Brian Austin Green, and that was a very big show for us from what I remember, because, we had one of the main cast going to join us. And then as we kept going, I think we all figured out pretty quickly that people loved reunions. They loved in this time period seeing when the cast members were reuniting. So we have a whole segment here on sort of the best of the reunions from the Beverly Hills 90210 show. I'm going to play that clip right now. What about Brandon and this person? Emily.
Christine's a very good friend of mine, and I see Christine all the time.
Hair. Hi.
What's going on? Now we're all going to try to look like you.
I'm going to color her purple now.
When you can't do your roots for 6 months, you don't have a lot of choices.
Important people to mention in this is Jed Allen, right? And how about this person?
Hi, Gordon.
Oh, hey.
How are you?
So nice to see you. How are you, Tia?
It's wonderful to see you, too.
Oh, as beautiful as ever.
We're going to talk about this season 5 thing, right? Where police tries to buy Ray to stop seeing Donna. Well, here, let's just bring Felice on.
Here comes the bad girl.
Well, I'm going to bring someone else into the mix here. You guys are all going to be surprised for this moment.
I hope.
Oh, that's so great. Oh my God. Look at Jim. Jim is spelling.
Spelling. Oh, miss you.
Hi,
Yeah, that's very cool. And
Ann.
Hey, Carol.
some of the scoundrels that were a part of this scam.
But it's good we still have pictures of Duke. Yeah,
Right?
Carrie. David. All right. There they are. The Swindler 3.
Go.
Except for,
This is going to be outrageous what's about to happen. Mark speaking Kylie.
It's not even Mark Kylie. It's Mark freaking Kylie.
And
Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We've got the faculty here. We couldn't do this segment without this person.
I'm so glad you're on.
So tired and I'm crying. I can't stand it.
Yeah, Gabrielle. Great to see you.
This is for Gabrielle. Now you have to
I've seen you more. Now we're doing the podcast more now than I've seen you in so long. Hi, my love. How are you?
For Doug, how about this person?
Hi, Mom.
I'm so sorry.
Mom 2.0. You should have looked out for me more.
I knew she was a pistol, but holy, I had no idea.
It's nice to see you.
Hi,
Thank
Jenny.
you.
It's so nice of you to be here. And you really should talk about it with people who were there, right?
So how about some of these people?
Jason Priestley. Oh my God.
Darren. Hey, Darren.
Great to see you. You look awesome.
How about
Brother, you're looking very well.
How about this person?
Jenny.
Oh my God. Hi, Jenny.
Jenny. How about this person?
What?
I'm going to cry. I'm just thinking.
Wait a minute. How about this person?
Oh my.
And how about this person?
Tori, Ian.
Hi.
Oh, hey, everybody. I didn't know if I-
Hello.
We have to
Oh
clap
my
our
God,
hands.
I'm so excited to
Tori.
see everybody. I'm crying.
Same here. I'm not crying, though, but
I am.
you're a crier, Gab.
Well, hey guys, there's somebody else that wants to join us here. How about
Hey,
There.
Oh my God.
And then how about this person?
Happy anniversary. Come on, Tori. You can do it.
And then
Nope.
Oh, and
Come on.
Carol.
And Carol, there you go. Everybody's
And I couldn't get on. Oh,
That's
wow.
so good. So good.
It's hard not to keep beaming about that. It's just what a stuff we pulled off there. That was pretty cool.
And then there's so many other ones too. That is there? I'm curious for each of you. Is there a favorite reunion outside of maybe the Super Show reunion? The intro is so epic and amazing. So that's got it.
The Darren Star when everyone joined Darren.
Yeah,
great.
Is there another?
I love the Denise Dallas thing. I didn't really work on the show then, but I really enjoyed her guesting on the show and seeing her genuine reactions and stuff. I thought she was wonderful.
Yeah, that was mine too. And the Christmas there with her coming and
She was really touched.
Kylie,
Yeah.
That
And
was a
Gavin.
reunion for Karen and I. We
I know.
really cared about him. Really loved what he did with the part, and I talked to him. Maybe ran into him once or twice in the time, same like I had with our friend Deshaun, but Krez.
I'd like to say one thing about the character because I'm new to it, Chuck. He was pretty saucy there. I mean, like they're talking about him being naked and stuff, and some other stuff. I mean, I'm not sure how that was playing right now. And like everyone had fantasies about the teacher. I mean, how's the teacher? I mean, he was kind of a little bit out of time.
Well, this is it. See, Larry went to high school in Long Island.
That's right.
He went to high school in Beverly Hills. That was honors English class. That's just,
fair game.
And in the first season, those super fans will know this. We had a teacher named Miss Rye. Miss Rye was the sexiest English teacher ever to walk the halls of Beverly Hills High School. And if you wanted to talk to her, you better have read some of more obscure works by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Because that was, but so you had all of that. And it was saucy. Hey, it was 90210. What are we going to do?
What about you, Melanie? Was there a reunion that you really liked outside of the intro of the Super Show? And there was really some fun ones in the Super Show too.
There were some good ones, but I think for me, it's going to have to be Mark, Kylie, and Gabrielle. I wanted to see Gil Myers on for so long, and I just loved how happy he looked. And, you could just see how happy they were to see each other. It just felt so genuine. And that was probably my top reunion outside of the Super Show.
That's very cool. Mine too. I guess I hate to be that way and not pick something different, but it was very cool. Only because we just haven't seen Mark Kiley in so long. So to see them, also the Doug Emerson and Jenny O'Hara from the Super Show.
That was good
really
too.
fun.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of people that have said really nice things about us, and they apparently really like us, Charles. There's been some really great things that people have said here, and now I'm going to take a look into the things that people said, and apparently they really like us.
I always want to remember Phil Savith, because Phil Savith was a big part of this ring story. He wrote, I believe, with this ring, and certainly wrote the last 4 episodes of this season with me, or rewrote them. And he's no longer here, so I always like to remember him. Fred and Phil and I were friends and colleagues together in Toronto. We had our own theater, and we loved him so much. Anyway, he had a lot of the heart of this stuff and a lot of the crazy stuff also.
It was very refreshing to see something that early on in the early 90s, that had such a good heart and that was really trying to do something.
Can I personally thank you for writing that episode?
Oh, my goodness.
It was my favorite episode to actually work on as an actor because it gave me something, a conflict, and it gave me, as an actor, just as a professional, it gave me something that I hadn't really had up to that point, was that dynamic in the script. And it was such a great script. So thank you. Personally.
Thanks.
Oh, no. I was going to say this maybe towards the end of the show, but Chuck, you did a very, very classy thing. When I was inquiring Chris about, are they going to bring me back? I'd love to be back on the show. You wrote me a letter. I still have that letter. And you compliment me on my talent. You say, I'd love to bring you back. But, you say, well, I look forward to working with you in my post 90210 career. And I still have that letter. And it was very classy. And I thank you for that.
Paul Wagner really helped that, too, because he was like an overseer. And, he kind of blended both sides of the hill.
Part of what we built this tonight is what did we do right and what did we do wrong? Yes. Well, one of the things we did right, get Chip on board for help for the 3 years and really take it to a much higher level.
I do want the fans also to know that we didn't change a word. Like, it was so beautifully written, and Jessica and Larry, you guys were and Steve too, just did really wonderful work that.
Thank you.
There's not very many shows that still do table reads, but I remember doing the table reads and everybody sitting around the table really passionate and excited to be there and really enjoying the words and the stories that you had crafted. And I thought it was really special. I actually tried to take a lot of that feeling to other shows that I worked on as well. And that's just not something that you can manufacture easily. It does start on the page, and you guys did a wonderful job.
My auditions, I actually got a buddy of mine who I had worked with in Colorado Shakespeare Festival, Jim Peary, another physically big guy, and we had gone in and we both got cast. And the whole time, I got to say, Chuck especially was really aware and caring and really trying to really put me in the show as much as he could after that. Anytime there was a chance, it was sort of like, guy number one, whatever, blah, 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 little throwaway thing. If it wasn't a story that was, really featured Tony or his relationship, but it was just somebody in passing. He's like, well, let's have Mike do it, and I really always appreciated that. So there were days where I was down there and down in Torrance, and I'd do something in the hallway, hey guys, whatever, or shut up, punk, and walk by, and then I would stay and load up the scenery into the truck.
This episode was Steve Wasserman's proudest moment. It demonstrates not only his talent as a writer, but also as a producer. And Steve loved working on 90210. He would be so touched and honored to know that the fans are still watching the show so many years later. Our daughter Shira joins me in wishing all those who celebrate a happy, healthy, and sweet new year.
Really nice stuff about all of you all, and some of the people that we would have loved to have had on the show if they were still here with us. So really nice stuff. Charles, was there anything that stuck out to you about that in doing this?
Well, I'm just feeling like Sally Field actually here. Stepping to watch her. It's really nice after all these years. No, my moment on there was, it's nice to get to be told that, well, you did something nice, but I also really enjoyed being able to look our writer in the eye. Chip has gone on to do, Johannesson has gone on to do such incredible work, and actually thank him for being there for 3 years. And Larry will be the first to tell you, he really elevated the work. I left in year 5. I was missed, but I bet Chip was really missed too, because of all the great ideas he could come up with and the skills that he had. Yeah. So I'm praising him again. Here you go.
There you go.
It's true, and it needed that to be in the college years, it needed to make that jump from, the way the high school shows, were evolving to college. We broadened the audience then is what we'd had to do.
Yes.
Really nice stuff. Now, one of the things I wanted to get to early on in this show is we started pursuing guests to come on the show. And Larry and I text each other with the bright idea that we should get Kathleen Robertson on the show. And Larry,
no duh,
right? Well, and but you guys didn't know that she was my TV crush at the time.
No, didn't know.
Yeah.
No,
had we known, I'm not sure. Well, anyway.
But anyway, you sent her a message on Twitter or something, and we could not get a hold of her. And then finally we reached out to like her manager or something, and they just wrote pass. Like there was no long explanation, just pass. And Larry and I were very upset about pass.
I was upset.
Yeah.
We had started her off on her career and stuff.
So we started obsession to get Kathleen Robertson.
Yeah, it was embarrassing what we did.
Yeah. Well,
but it worked.
We used little children even, I think.
Here is a little bit of this
recording of Kathleen
trying to get this. Maybe Kathleen Robertson would want to. You never know.
Right? Now, Larry, isn't Kathleen from Hamilton too?
Yes, she is.
Thank
a
you
Canadian.
So much.
She won't respond to me, Molly.
And I revealed this week that I'm a class of 94, and growing up, my TV crush is Claire Arnold. So, I mean, she has to come on the show at this point. And by the way, that's a very nice Kathleen Robertson story. Kathleen, what are we doing? You coming on the show or not? Okay. Yeah, Larry, have you heard from Kathleen real quick?
I have not heard from Kathleen.
While we're
come on, Kathleen. Come on, Kathleen.
Kathleen Robertson. Yes. Now, before I get to this, Larry, have you heard from Kathleen?
Unfortunately, I have not heard from Kathleen. I assume she's very busy in quarantine and just is not getting back on this. I know she wants to do the show.
We have a campaign going to get Kathleen Robertson on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the fans have been messaging her and whatnot. So here's
tweeting her, tagging her.
And if the reason you're staying away is because of me, only Larry will do the show. I promise.
But I do need to ask you, Larry, have you heard from Kathleen at all?
I have not heard from Kathleen. I have to find a fresh way. I don't want to make this a goofier thing to kind of scare her, because we want to give her some love.
Well, Kathleen, look, I'm going to talk right now. I'm looking at the camera. We talked about that earlier. Kathleen, please come on the show.
Kathleen.
We want you. We're going to do a Claire Arnold episode. It's going to be so fun. You could talk about all the stuff you've been doing. Come on the show, right? Come on.
Come on, Kathleen.
I like she has sex, rock, and really decent literature.
This is a great moment to ask you about this, Jason. What was Kathleen like to work with?
Kathleen was great, man. Kathleen's awesome. She's a Canadian.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I ask you that because we have a goal here on our show to get Kathleen Robertson to appear. So, if you can help us and put us in a good word with Kathleen, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Have you asked her?
Larry, on that note, this is the time of the show where we'll talk about if anyone's heard from Kathleen, because we have a quest to get Kathleen Robertson on the show. We have not heard from Kathleen, but we have heard from somebody that is close to Kathleen, and they are going to reach out to Kathleen for us. So that's where we are.
Kathleen, will you please go on Beverly Hills podcast?
Okay, this is happening. We are here live. And we have Kathleen Robertson with us. And Molly fell out. Kathleen,
hello.
How are you? It's so good to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, very excited to see Kathleen. It was a long pursuit of Kathleen. It started, must have been the spring, so it's fantastic. We romanced her, just like but it was worth it.
You definitely did. And my son is to thank for me being here, because my son, William, saw all of the stuff that you guys posted. I don't know how and he was the one that kept saying to me, Mom, you have to do this. They really want you to do this, and yeah, the little boy, I can't remember his name, the sweet little boy.
Yeah. Oh, that's my nephew Ryan. And yeah. Holly wants to know, oh my God, this is amazing. Pete, how are you feeling? Ha ha. I'm feeling wonderful. Kathleen looks TV crush worthy, and I love it. So I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for checking in on me. Oh, that was really great. I mean,
dream come true.
Crazy.
Goosebumps just watching.
Well, Tiffany's next. Let's just face it, guys. We have to, in the new year, we want to see Tiffany on the show. Valerie was one of our favorite characters. She was a wonderful actress to work with, and it's so important to the show to have her.
I totally agree. Yeah, it's just been great getting to know her too. Kathleen. She's just a sweetheart.
No, the Kathleen thing is good. I didn't mean to undercut it with the Tiffany thing, but that was just bothering me that. But Kathleen, she was just wonderful to have there. I mean, but it was a pursuit of probably about 4 or 5 months. 20 shows worth.
Like I said, she's a sweetheart. She's turning into my BFF. So they're
Look what I'm drinking my coffee on today, Mel.
Nice.
A well-deserved championship, Charles.
Thank you, Mel.
Yes.
See you next year.
Yes, right. We will.
So we found out a lot of different things on this show. I mean, I have to tell you, in the last few weeks doing the Patreon, I think I found out even way more information. So make sure you sign up for our Patreon. I haven't even I had no plans on plugging anything today. But this is a great segment of all the little things that we wound up learning through the show here on the Beverly Hills 90210 show.
With this ring, but Brandon returns the ring in this one. He kind of recommits to you.
I think he goes to some Nazi jeweler, some blonde-haired Nazi jeweler.
That's Jason, right? Fred?
What's that?
Jason is
Jason. He doesn't know. That's Jason. No, I'm saying, but he goes to a jeweler.
Yeah, that's right. He plays two parts.
What?
Yes. I remember being at the pool when they shot that hot scene in the water, and it was really cold.
Cold night.
Cold night. You could see the steam rising out of the water in the pool, and Jenny Garth complained that it was cold, and the director said, just remember what Alfred Hitchcock said, act warm.
The one thing Aaron said to me was, right before I started the episode, he looked at me and he said, don't fuck this up.
May the bridges I burn light the way.
There was a lyric in this band. It was not very serious band out here, and it was a lyric from one of the songs.
I love it. Yeah.
Not one that I wrote, so I should actually admit that.
I don't see there's any reason why we can't be specific. They were going to kiss, the Deshaun character and Donna were going to kiss. And we went upstairs to the powers that be, and they said, no, they're not.
I have to say, it was one of my goals when I got out of college. I figured in order to be an independent woman, I needed to be able to roll my own joints.
She was wondering if Diana's last name was used to create Emily Valentine's last name.
That's what they told me.
Okay.
It must be true.
It must be true.
Within an hour of the script being delivered to the loft, the first draft, I got a call from Jamie Kellner's office to go downstairs and see him, which was like being called to the principal's office. And I had explained that you and Chuck felt very strongly about it. And even though, the show was obviously a heightened reality, we were trying to stay as true as we could to, sort of an authentic high school experience. And even back in 1990, kids were having sex in high school, especially if they went out for an extended period of time. I think it wasn't until it aired that we really started to hear it from the affiliates.
The scariest part was that at that time, I don't know if it's still there, but at that time, right next to the Queen Mary, they had a bungee jumping thing. And at one point we were getting ready I was setting up a scene, and I looked to my right, and Ian Ziering was leaping off, bungee jumping. The music, a call was made, and then Ian didn't do that anymore.
Eric wrote me a note. It was in summer. Gabrielle, we're getting ready for a summer show. You better lose weight so you can wear a bathing suit. Which I did not. I refused.
Who wrote that?
Aaron. Which I refused to. Actually, you'll never have seen me in a bathing suit on the show. I was so upset about it. That's when I was wearing my overalls and all that. I was really in great shape, but I was not going to be the girl to show I wasn't for me.
It was me and three very pretty wasp-looking guys, in that room outside of Aaron's office. So it was, and I came in and I read with Carol. Remember, it was like it was kind of a chemistry.
Sure,
read.
she came in to read with everybody.
Right away, I remember we had a real chemistry even in that room. I remember that. But she told me that I walked out of the room, and Aaron said something like, I really like that guy, and Carol said something like, well, of course, Aaron, because he's Jewish.
I am telling you, we are 10 yards from the stage. We are as close to the stage as you could possibly get. And one by one, they all start peeling away. They kept, we got to load the truck. We got to do it now. The last two people standing there was Christine Elise and myself. And eventually then Jason comes back and goes, Christine? And so she has to leave. I'm the last one standing.
Where I get to hear my favorite line of all of 90210 said out loud, I need a new bracelet to match my new nose. Which just was so funny.
We were shooting in Point Magoo, and it was a beach scene, and it was like a 6 a.m. call time, and they had put my mark on, I guess it was a campfire that someone had just covered with a very small layer of sand, and my mark was right on the campfire. And so I was running down the beach to hit my mark, and I hit my mark, dug my foot into the campfire.
One of the reasons that Aaron probably also was really behind this is that he had made an investment, personal investment, and an emotional investment in Luke Perry. And here we get to episode 9. This was Luke's coming out party too. It wasn't just chilling with Brenda. It was save Luke Perry's job.
I remember very clearly going to the network that when we had to pitch the idea of doing the triangle, they were not at all pleased with this idea. They thought this was a terrible idea that was going to ruin all of the characters. We were going to ruin Brenda, we were going to ruin Kelly, and we were going to ruin Dylan. And how could we think of such a thing?
So one night after filming, I was done. They just let us go on rides, and Shannon was the only one that would go on the zipper with me, and they just let it roll. They just, you know what the zipper is?
Yeah,
the one that goes like that and then it spins.
Oh my gosh.
So we did 122 spins on that thing. We were screaming, and finally we had to stop, but they just let it go. I have a picture of her and I holding up like the 122.
Tiffany had auditioned for Models Inc. before 90210.
and that didn't work out. But Aaron really liked her, and he called me personally, and he said in his own Aaron way, which we know, he was like, "Babe, how would you feel about Tiffany coming on the show?" And but I assumed that it was for an episode. I didn't know. It was as a series regular.
And then to have to sing that song like an asshole, and pretend to play guitar, which I couldn't do. And I felt like an asshole doing that too. I had to sit there and listen to my own voice in the quad with 8 million extras, the entire crew, and sing this song horribly to Shannon Doherty, Jenny Garth, Tori Spelling. Oh my God. I was literally, you probably don't remember this, but I would sing like, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me?" And you go, "Cut." And I would start crying. I cried in between takes. Action. "Won't you buy me?" It was
Chuck grew up next door to Groucho Marx, and his father played cards with Harpo at Hillcrest Country Club.
It was terrible. I mean, they had just signed him for $1 million.
Wow.
So, I mean, we're going to exploit him and use him in the storyline, but he's not going to go anywhere. He's got to take one for the team, so to speak, because, he's going to become the bad guy. Again, we made a terrible mistake, as Jessica was pointing out. We thought we could redeem him, and we just said, sometimes you just can't do that. We were too naive at that point.
What was it like working with Jenny?
That was awesome. I'll tell you, one of the funniest things was when we all showed up, we were told right away that her boyfriend was there. Their boyfriends, I guess, to make sure they were there for that episode shooting. And I was like, I'm not trying to hit on anybody or anything. I was really starstruck myself. One of the funny things were her boyfriend's here, by the way. So I don't know if some of the musicians get bad raps, but they wanted to make sure I knew that there was somebody keeping an eye on her.
I don't know if you remember, Jessica and Larry, this was a very, very big day that Steve Young was there on set. It was the verdict, the O.J. Simpson trial. And Aaron, we had always driven ourselves set. Mr. Spelling had sent town cars for all of the cast because he was concerned that there could be violence based upon the verdict of the O.J. Simpson case.
Like Molly would sometimes let me, because Molly and I were buds, and she trusted me and she knew how into fashion I was, and Molly would sometimes let me go. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Go for it.
But sometimes I would go shopping for Claire and I would buy stuff and then I would bring it in and be like, "What do you think?" And then we would go through it and she would be like, "This is probably too much," or "This is cool," or whatever. And then so a lot of stuff that I look at, I'm like, "Oh my God, I remember buying that on Melrose." Like the chainmail top, that weird purple chainmail top that I wore in all the press photos. Like that was I bought that on Melrose at a weird sex shop.
I remember going with you to Melrose.
Is that Michael and those in the construction and the art department at the time made everybody believe that stairway in the Walsh house went somewhere, that any of those doors opened.
Some really, really interesting things.
Yeah, I forgot my brother was on the show.
Yeah, that was some cool stuff. I love that he could not figure out that Jason Priestley played two parts.
Even after mentioning it 4 times.
I know. He didn't quite get that. Because he was
to know Fred is to love Fred.
Is there any one thing for you? I'm curious for you guys as we started doing this. Was there a fact at all through the timing of where you were like, "Wow, I didn't know that," and here we go. This is new information for you.
Jumping,
what
season was that?
Yeah.
I did know about it at the time. It was a little thing, but I didn't know
That's
about
the one I want to talk about too.
The OJ
because
thing.
It's an interesting thing. Now, so that was the day that the OJ trial was the ruling, and who knew what was going to happen as a result? But
right, he was guilty.
Go back 3 years before, and we've talked about the Rodney King. Those happened right in front of the Spelling offices.
Wow!
And Mr. sent us home that day, Larry, about noon. Oddly enough, that was my neighborhood. I lived very close to where
I was at Sunset and Gower. I had an office at Sunset and Gower. So I was right in the middle of it too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we during that riot time, I mean, Steve and Jess lived in Los Feliz. That's where, not that far from what Larry's describing. There was problems there, and where I live too. And that's how we communicated on the phone.
Yeah, you were holding the line. Yeah, because you
couldn't
were
go into the office. So it's interesting that I understand exactly what Aaron was thinking. Sends those town cars because if LA exploded like that again, and it very well could have, you know. Although it would have been probably the opposite verdict would have really, you know, set it off.
I was followed home shortly after that. I had a Mercedes 450 SL. You know, I had finally bought a car that, you know, had, you know, if you drive, you know, LA, you had to have a nice car. And I got followed home, and I shook the guy. And after that, I bought an Altima. And that was I listened to my friend Edward Anholt, who told me when I came to town, never have a good car, have a stealth car. Have a stealth car. I had a stealth car.
Good tip.
I think what I was really fascinated by in doing all of these episodes is just how beloved Tori Spelling is by the cast, the crew, the directors. Listen, I mean, I don't know Tori Spelling, but she comes across as pretty authentic and sweet on screen. But to hear that, and then to hear about how great she was and the work that she has done, is absolutely incredible. Were you guys taken back by that, Larry? That everybody has said it?
No, not at all, because she was a great spirit there. She was really happy to be in the job all the way through my time there to 7, which, you know, you can't say that for the whole cast. But, you know, season 6 was an energetic year. And 7, I think, you know, things, you know, we knew we were ending college and there was, you know, some you know, insecurities flashing through. But Tori always was excited to be there. So, no, I assumed that.
All right. So here is everybody loving Tori Spelling. Yes, that was really great stuff. Hey, you know, one of the other things that we got to do that was a lot of fun this year for the Super Show is we got to go on the road with Melanie Rose, who took us on an awesome locations tour. We got to revisit a lot of the places. So here is that.
Wow. Yeah, wow. Okay. If any of you have a problem with that, well, it's too bad.
Like into the 7th season, where everyone was kind of getting tired, we have done almost 4 years of double ups. Every time a script was published, and I happened to be in that room when the thing was delivered, Tori would pick up the script with enthusiasm. And that always just, I thought, thank God, someone still got it.
So great. I remember describing Tori as being game. We could put her in the biggest dress or give her the silliest role or the deepest role, and she would completely dive in and commit. And that was a great thing, especially as Larry said, after so many years, she could have just started phoning it in, but she never did.
I always felt that Tori wasn't taken seriously enough being Mr. Spelling's daughter. But she was really talented.
We had a really nice relationship. She was always very dear with me and very sweet with me. There was never any challenge or any, you know, headbutting or, and certainly I was going to defer to her because she, you know, is the star of the show.
Right.
And I'm going to make her as comfortable as possible and keep our interaction, you know, as warm and genuine as I could.
I love her. She was my comfort zone. She was the nicest of everybody to me. And we were fast friends. Like, we just clicked and connected right away. And she was just the most welcoming, cool human that, you know, there could have been. She's actually, like, whenever people ask me, like, what's your fondest memory of 90210, I always say my friendship with her.
Tori had this really interesting, natural, affectless quality that I didn't direct it. I mean, she had it. You know, some things she could pull off, some things maybe not, but, you know, but she always had a very unique authenticity to it that was just very, very particular to her. And I think that's why it worked when she do it. It just was something that was idiosyncratic to the way she responded to things. And I don't remember really, needing to note her very much on those kind of moments. She had a real good instinctive sense of it.
She was great. She couldn't have been more just giving, as an actor, back and forth and wanted to make me feel, at ease. And she was just one of the more down-to-earth people I'd ever worked with, at that time in my career. She was just totally open and invited me to have lunch with them and stuff. And, she invited me to her birthday party in Beverly Hills, a few weeks after we shot the original episode, which I thought was cool, and I went, I had a blast. And she was very, very, very cool to work with.
Tori does very well with comedy and does very well with physical comedy. Tori can be really good when she just delivers things very simply and she's just very honest. The reason that scene was so beautiful is because she was just, you could feel her honesty in that, in that performance. And that's what made it resonate the way that it did.
Working with Tori, it was great. Like I said, we were friends. We were friends before. We were friends after. Jill used to come and hang out with us, and we used to, go over to the house and hang out afterwards. And sometimes we'd watch the show. I think we did watch the show all over the house. Did we?
Well, no, I don't remember watching the show. I just remember doing a lot of partying.
Yeah, we did. There was a lot of partying going on then.
We met on the pilot, and we hadn't met before that. And it was the thing that we had that was a real bond for us. Thinking back on it, is that we were the youngest of the show, so we had a bond because we had sort of familiar lives at that point. I mean, I think we're only a month apart, so we were relatively the same age. We were going through a lot of the same things, and it was a bond. Being the age difference between ourselves and the other people wasn't huge, but at that age, it's huge, and so the things that Jason and Luke and Jenny and Ian were doing were much different from the things that we were doing, just because of our age and the ability to do them or not.
I used to get really mad and upset and angry with anybody who dissed Tori at all. I used to say, this girl has proven herself. She is unbelievable. It's not fair that you see that as nepotism. That is just BS. And she's a great actor who is so prepared and professional. And yeah, I've definitely, let's just say I have, there was a period of time where I stopped going to out to bars because I'd get really upset and realize, this is not a good place for me to be.
Yes, that was really great stuff. Hey, one of the other things that we got to do that was a lot of fun this year for the Super Show is we got to go on the road with Melanie Rose, who took us on an awesome locations tour. We got to revisit a lot of the places. So here is that.
Hi, I'm Melanie Rose with 90210 Tours, and I'm here with Peter from Beverly Hills 90210 Show.
I guess for me, I just watched it when I was in high school. It was always consistent. It was always on. I fell in love with the stories. I met my wife, and she was even a bigger fan of the show than I was.
So cool.
Yeah. And when we moved here from New Jersey earlier this year, we were looking for the right neighborhoods and where to move and where to live. And we looked at many different locations. We kept coming back to Altadena, and we only live about 3 minutes from here. And I was like, this feels like home to me. The fact that the Walshes live here, that they don't really live here, but this house represents home. And I think that's what 90210 represents for me.
And I am here with
Larry and Yoshi.
And
Pete.
And Chuck, but you probably know me as Charles.
And we're here at none other than the famous beach house from Beverly Hills 90210.
When we finally convinced Mr. Spelling that we should do a college show,
gave us the opportunity for girls to move out of their Beverly Hills house and have a cool apartment at the beach. And the location manager says, here's our cool apartment. And we go, okay, that's cool. A little far from our base in the valley in Van Nuys, but Hermosa Beach is fine. Then we started to build the set inside to match this apartment. When Melanie said we filmed here, yeah, twice. Because right after that, some irate neighbor said, hey, city council, you shouldn't have done this, and you shouldn't have agreed to this, and we don't want it, and we're coming to you. And so they reneged on our contract.
Garrett Slan, the stalker of Donna, broke into the apartment here, and he was, luckily for Donna, she used the word Davy, so David Silver realized something was up.
Right now we're at the Calvert Street Studios, which were the sound stages for many of the scenes for 90210. This is where the magic happens.
So where we're standing now, inside the Calvert studio, is half of what was the producer's office, where Paul Wagner, who was the line producer of the show, would have his office here. And why I'm bringing you in here? Because this is where we did casting. Every character after season 1 was cast out of this room.
The warehouse, when it was started by Chuck and the original company. And when I came in college, this housed all the interiors for California University. We're talking about all the big cafeteria stuff and all the classrooms. And we had the Walsh house in here, the beach apartments, Dylan McKay's interiors at his house. Lucky enough to be able to purchase another stage, which was now that says Genie there. But that became the Picture After Dark.
When we did the rave episode in Euphoria, which was one of our highest rated episodes in the first 5 seasons, and the club was right across the way.
We are here at Roxbury Park. I'm with Charles Rosen, and can you guess what scenes were filmed here?
I'll give you a hint. Yep, this is the place exactly where we're standing, where Kelly and Dylan told Brenda they were an item. And we're in the middle of Beverly Hills. You'd think a show called Beverly Hills 90210 would film a lot in Beverly Hills. I can count it on one hand how many times we actually came here. But the reason we love this is because when they walked away, the camera turned and tilted and showed the skyline that is so predominant here, that is Century City and right behind us.
Cool.
Well, such a good time. Cool. Thank you guys again. That was so much fun.
Thank you, man.
What a fun day.
No, that was fun. Thank you. Listen, it can't get understated here on the show how important Melanie's been to our show. I have to thank you and just give you so much gratitude, because the show really shifted when you joined us. You helped us with so many things behind the scenes, and doing that locations thing was just absolutely a blast. I know I had fun hanging out with these guys, and you as well. You've just been such a sweet person. So thank you for
and you bought us our burgers with the apple pan. So that was a real special day.
That's right.
I was thinking that too, Chuck. Yeah, we had apple pan that day.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like the apple pan right now. But
yes.
All right, Larry, let's talk about the roadie.
Okay. We were able to catch up with him, which was great, because it's been a long time since we last saw him, which was in the Voodoo That You Do So Well, or Rock of Ages episode. And I guess, when we did the Super Show, we asked a lot of the people to send in videos of where they are now, and the roadie was nice enough to do that.
He's a sweetheart, roadie. Okay, here is the roadie.
Hey, David Semmel. Remember me? The amateur youth director? The Rolling Stones roadie who threw Ray Pruitt 1P off the Rose Bowl stage? Get out of here! After that aired, that became my catchphrase, and I have you to thank. Man, I hear you're having a fantastic career, and I'm not surprised, because look at the performance you got out of me. And people apparently want to know what I'm doing 30 years later. Well, I am finally off the road and living large with my old lady. I'm dog sitting for the lead singer of, you know who.
Honey, come and get it!
Get out of here!
I love that.
I'm glad that we could do that. I'm so glad that guy apparently left his acting career and became a writer, which was probably good.
Well, Todd is absolutely obsessed with you, Larry, and he cut together an entire Larryisms segment.
Writers sometimes and directors always have different visions of stuff. And I've noticed something in your work which I really want to applaud. It's a small thing, but you didn't have any candles in the bedroom scene with Dylan. The directors drive me crazy. They put all these candles in especially if you shoot a bathroom scene. It's going to be full of candles. I have to tell you, Jason Priestley would have put candles there. I do want to tell where the name comes in, because I did give name to this character who was named after the weirdest woman I knew. I only knew her for about a couple of weeks, but this was I was hitchhiking with my girlfriend, who was then my wife. This is like 1972, before anyone, anything was there. And I was researching a play I was writing called Free Ride, and we got picked up in a van somewhere I was across Canada, somewhere east of Calgary, and this gal got in. She was kind of good looking or whatever, and we wound up riding and really liking her, what her story was or whatever. But at night, she was talking to her dead husband. Oh, that was a little troublesome. Tara was her name, and so that was it. At least it's driven an image.
We spoke to Joshua Beckett. Chuck and I did. And I asked him about the origins of the character and the name, and we didn't really know. But you have an answer to that question of where does Josh?
I'm pretty certain he appeared in the beginning of college, because I know it was a character that I collected character payments on. So he always liked that. And I knew I had named him because Richland. I had a friend named Craig Richland, if you're listening, who was, this was, there was still cocaine around and stuff then. It was, it was living high. And I always remembered him. I just kind of thought I would honor my coke dealer. In the 80s, I executive produced 52 episodes of The New Gidget. And that came out of the Gidget world, where, it was just part of the colorful language of avocado heads we called people who were stupid Californians. The fruits and the nuts thing was over, so the avocado heads was perfect. And I think we had a little bit of a conversation before us, but kissing was something we expected actors to do, and now it's a big deal. When you're on stage, they have to get permission, and they frame it right. But then, if you were an actress, and Jill knows this, they said, if the script said kiss somebody, you got to kiss them, and you got to, you're an actress, you want to put yourself in that character and be a great kisser if that's what it calls for. And I think we just ran into a kissing problem. I'm going to simplify the whole thing. I'm going to make the whole thing go away, and I'm just going to say there was a kissing problem on the set, and so that character then had to find an exit. Another hobby in there, which I was glad to see, and Chuck knows this, I collect sea glass all around the world. So there's this whole sea glass, which becomes a secret code between Erica and Dylan. I was very happy to see that. I had forgotten about it.
Yeah, that was a great little plot. Very, very Mullen-esque.
Yes, I got to write the meth thing. And I don't know if you remember, Chuck, but broadcast standards, of course, would not let us snort it. So we had to find a way to get it to them. So I went out and I spoke to two addict friends of mine who were basically roadies, who were truckers. And they both told me, orange juice, that way, you get high and you get a little nourishment, and it worked great. I mean,
because you got to stay nourished.
And that's right.
That's right. You got to grind your teeth.
Letters.
You need some vitamin C.
Well, not only was I a roadie, I was a roadie for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, but my road manager, was a guy named Larry Waterman. And when we were rehearsing the scene, I looked over at the Rolling Stones road manager, and it was Larry Waterman. So this was like 1995. I was in 1969. I was a roadie with them. And I said, Larry, it's Larry Mullen. He went, oh my God, what band you with? I went, no, I'm a writer producer on the show. I'm just, it was like the greatest kind of surrender. It was crazy. These are the words that kind of stuck out to me. Limitor.
Okay.
Negator, which is great. Now, that was definitely Chip. I remember negator was right out of your mouth. Extern was right out of your mouth.
Yeah,
we were goofy.
Sounds like some kind of prescription drug, the way you're saying it.
Limitor.
Exactly. It's really good for you. Then we had Filter Out, the Rumination Room. I mean, the one that really got me today was Milletting.
Oh, I
believe it was mine.
That's very Larry, I think. Yeah,
it was the millennial wedding. I mean, that scene where the old person. Really, we did lose it on this thing, Chuck. I mean, thank you. Other words which were good were rough beast. Anyone who was bad was a rough beast.
Unevolved rough beast.
Unevolved.
Unevolved.
Processing, clear, which we stole from Scientology, I guess. We wrote the script for Mexico, and then, as Chuck said, it turns out we're going to shoot it in Mexico. In fact, we're going to shoot it in Cabo, which, you know, we all love Cabo. And Duke has a friend, I think his name is Marco, Chuck, was that?
Marco sounds good.
Yeah, Marco, who happened to own the Palmilla, which was a just beginning and looking to brand itself, and was, you know, Duke was trying to help out a friend. So that was the story. So we were going to be able to go down there. And not only that, Marco, as it turned out, was an ex-Blue Angel pilot. And, you know, and then Duke also had some high pilot credentials. He had his own plane, which was a King Air. Now we got to go down there, the location scout. And we're going down there. And I'm pretty sure in the group we had some a location man we didn't really know. J.P. Perret, Whitmore, and Paul and I. And we went down there and, you know, they opened the Palmilla. So it was a fabulous thing. We had so many great locations. And then we had to go home. When we were driving to the airport, I don't want to say that there had been we had come off a lunch. And so a lunch, you know, usually when you have a lunch in Mexico by the beach, as people know, there's big glasses of things. Right. And sometimes people drink these things, not me, but other people.
Right.
Anyway, so now we're going to the airport. We're rushing there, and I'm pretty sure I'm talking to Paul. I'm saying, geez, I mean, we're really going to go out? I mean, like, it's like gunmetal gray, and there's like thunder. And we get to the airport, and we rush into the plane. And meanwhile, Paul says to me, don't worry, JP's already been in a plane crash. It can't happen twice. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. Gee, that's comforting. That's really comforting. I was like the designated scared person. That's why I want to have Whitmore here. Now, as we're getting the plane, we're hearing all the radio calls, people saying, I'm sitting this one out. I'm sitting this one out. I'm sitting this one out. And Marco goes, rock and roll. We're going. As we take off, lightning strikes the tower of the Cabo airport. And now we're climbing, and we're literally an arm's length from an anvil cloud for the next 3 minutes of terror, of absolute terror. And we make it out of there, and then literally, I don't know if they were shitting their pants or not, but they apologized so profusely for risking our lives to get back. Anyway, I will say nothing more.
That's great stuff.
Oh, that's
good times.
That's kind of fun to see for me, anyway.
Man, some really good
entertaining.
I think we got to have a T-shirt now with all of Larry's best phrases in it now. Not just Karen. We need the Larry one.
The kissing one. But yeah, that harrowing story. I still have to talk to Whitmore about that story. He wasn't on that day.
Maybe we'll do a
Chuck
we'll
wants
do
to
a
have
watch
Whitmore for the a Child is a Man for
He's
Man.
in.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he's in. We're going to be doing that for the January 6th episode as of this moment. So that should be what we're covering on the next time you hear us live. We're going to start with a bang, right? Yeah.
Bang.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? I wanted to show. Oh, listen. It goes without saying when we started this show, figuring out that we had to use Google Chrome was not always easy for everybody. So
Understatement.
Figuring out how Wi-Fi works or what this bizarre sound was was always a challenge. And here are some of those things. There he is, Mr. Darren Starr.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Darren.
How are you?
Joined the group. Yeah.
Happy to see you.
Great to see you guys. Hey, Sandy. Did I freeze?
Is audio on?
Did you hear it?
I can hear you. I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Sandy, can you hear Darren?
I'm going to come over here for possibly some better lighting. We'll see.
There you go.
I thought this was podcast. I didn't know it was video. I would have showered.
Can you guys?
Darren,
I like the look. You did good.
Okay.
It was a good show.
Darren, go out of the room and come back in. Sometimes that fixes it so that the other person can hear you.
What? Who can't hear? Can you hear me
Sandy can't hear you. So
Sandy could never. He never listened.
I don't like it when he just said.
Yeah, did he just drop the mic? Did he just drop the mic right there? And is that what?
Really? I meant leave the studio and then come back into the room.
Okay.
If you see what that's
podcast room. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
Run around the block once.
I did walk out and come in. Can you hear me, Sandy?
No. I meant
like leave the chat room and then
What's
come
that?
back into the chat room.
Oh, you mean leave this thing and come back again? Which was.
Yeah, there's a button on the bottom that says leave studio. Exit that, come back in, and then he should be able to hear you. Yeah.
I was just out walking around.
Everyone froze for me. Uh-oh.
Okay, we have everybody here, and it's exciting to be back for another episode of the Beverly Hills 90210 show. We are really testing the StreamYard system here with all the people that we have in the room.
This is a very attention to detail question. Okay, in Brenda's bedroom, above her dresser, there's.
All right, so this might, Alan, this might help a little bit because now we eliminated one person, so that might sort of, help the Wi-Fi debacle that's going on with you.
It's a little bit better, but it keeps telling me to move.
Do you use Chrome?
It tells me to move closer to my router, which is in the other part of the.
He's having a Wi-Fi.
So can you hear me now?
Are you good, Alan? Can you hear us?
Uh-oh.
Alan, can you hear us?
I'm hearing you better now than I was before.
Great.
But if
Okay.
you know,
Well, we only try to do good here. Great? We don't know great.
hearing
We're
about
not trying to
everything.
make America good. Just good.
it's whatever it is, it's good. It's bourbon.
L'chaim.
Page 5. I remember the day of my audition. It was so the huge earthquake that happened, the Northridge earthquake.
Kathleen's drinking the same thing, same
was
glass.
the day of my audition, and so the audition was canceled. But I was Canadian, and I was.
Oh my God! Happy anniversary! Come on, Tori, you can do
it.
And
nope.
Oh, and Cheryl. Oh my God.
And Cheryl, everybody's.
And I couldn't get on.
Wow.
Hey, Tori, how are you? All okay in the internet land there?
Nope.
I don't know if anyone told you this, but when I was in high school, I used to tell people when they said, who is the celebrity you'd want to be best friends with? I used to always say Tori Spelling. So I just think the world of you, and
Molly,
you just
Molly
feel bad
Campbell.
for me because I'm having such trouble with that.
Here we go. Now we're in phase 2.
That's so bad for Tori. We couldn't get Tori going here. Well, maybe she'll
Couldn't
get back.
get Tori. Pete did some seamless improvisations there.
I know. We were trying. Melanie was trying to reach her manager.
Trying to make it work here. The thing is, what's also happening is people are ahead of schedule and they're coming into the room, which is causing people to not be in the room. So there's a lot of kicking them from studios, and I don't mean to be doing that rudely.
The great dad, spiritual person. Kindness was.
It
does. Okay, perfect. Melanie, does Pete see her?
We got her. We got her.
1 second. I'm just waiting for confirmation.
We got her. Yes, we have.
Hi, Denise.
I look awful dark. I don't know.
Yeah, we got you, Denise. Can you hear us?
That's better.
Oh, you could just.
All right. Anyway, we're going to let Denise figure out what's happening. Denise, we see you. We know that you're here. Turn down your audio so that we can get you in. And the other person that's waiting in the wings, I see you too. So hang out in that virtual room. We'll be with you in a second. Here, turn down your audio so that we can get you. Yes, there we go. Doug, this is it. We're live, man. This is how it's
awesome.
Oh,
Good
boy.
times. Hey, you know who we forgot to include there is Wings. Do you remember when Wings came on? We played that through my speakerphone into the podcast. That was an interesting one too.
It's never easy to get all this stuff to work.
Painful.
But I thought the Alan Toy one was definitely the most extreme because poor Alan Toy could not figure out his Google Chrome. It's very simple. If you want to be on this podcast, you need Google Chrome. It's just a requirement. Listen,
Have to have it.
Tiffany, if you come on the show, you need Google Chrome.
With Alan, if it's 5 o'clock, you need bourbon. So it's all the same.
There is a bourbon factor in there.
People have needs. People have needs.
Did you guys see when on the Molly Campbell clip, something fell in her home?
Yes.
Something crashed to the floor. Yeah.
I was so nervous having Kathleen, and then all of a sudden I heard bang. I was like, what was that? Poor Molly. All
But
right.
still, I mean, the opening thing of Darren is just the best. I
loved when he walked up and came back. I mean,
that's just crazy. It's just, I just crack up.
That's one of my favorite lines. I forgot. He said, "You never listened." Yeah, I love that.
I know you would drop the mic.
That was drop the mic, but that's not what he was doing.
There's so much stuff we did. It's crazy.
Yeah, and poor Tori.
Yeah,
man, we tried so hard. I felt so bad for her Wi-Fi issues.
I mean, that Super Show was just that was enormous. 36 guests or something like that.
You know what's funny? When I was watching the election, I thought it was just us that has technical problems. But when I was watching the election results on a network that I won't name because people get offended immediately. Yeah, they have these same issues. People talking Wi-Fi things. They're cutting to somebody. I mean, this is the way of the world. The virtual stuff. Go ahead.
Well, I just have to amplify that. So there was a period of time too, and I kept pointing this out to Karen. Somebody would at MSNBC in the in the last 3 months, 5 months, someone will come up with some information. And it's really going to be very critical of the Trumps or whatever is going on. And they start talking, and then all of a sudden, blip, it's gone. And I said, they've got spies. They're doing this. It's just, it's a Charles conspiracy theory. But, it's not true.
Yeah, no. All right, here are some great things that people said. We have 2 things called They Said It, We Didn't. So here are some of those things.
Luke, on day one, and for the first couple of days I was there, went way out of his way to make sure I had someone to have lunch with. And I knew where my trailer was and walked me all around. And Luke went out of his way to be really, really friendly. And that's a unique experience. I've never had an experience with another actor in my entire career. The series regular went so far out of their way to be nice to a guest star. It just doesn't work that way typically.
What a huge part of the show Jim and Cindy were.
Yeah,
and how unbelievably important they were as actors, and how they grounded the material that we were doing. I mean, Jim, Carol, you guys were, as much as Brandon was supposed to be the rock in the middle of all the craziness, you guys were the rock that secured the rock within all the craziness, right?
They were the real adults in the room.
Yeah, you guys really were, and and as we've all witnessed these last 4 years, one thing you need is adults in the room.
Brian had been on the show for such a long time that it wasn't like he was overly concerned about how the scene would play out. He was like, "We've got this, we're good." Where I was new and I was so nervous, and he was like, "We're okay. I would want to rehearse it maybe," and he's like, "We're gut paid. We're fine."
I was heartbroken for Jamie at the time. Once again, like a great dude. Priest and I and Jamie went to Boston, to the Boston Garden, to play in this celebrity hockey game. Like we hung out, we liked each other. Yes, we can definitely separate our characters from real life, but it's tough. I've been in that situation where you're the villain and your time on the show is ending. It's not awesome. It's not the same feeling as like your show's just starting and you've got lots of track to run. So I think everybody was empathetic, but Jamie was nothing but a stellar guy, super, super talented.
Kathleen was awesome. That whole storyline she was a great team player. I mean, we had some ridiculous stuff to do sometimes, and sort of the comedy torch passed a little bit when David and Donna weren't together, and you had Claire and David together. Like she really embraced the comedy side of it, and she was completely on board. She never complained about stuff we were doing. Like she really she was 100% present, and she's always has been and always will be. She's a really good actress, and so it was really fun working with her.
I don't want this show to be over without my saying how much I adore Jason Priestley too, and I frankly was very touched looking at Gentle Art, because he was so fresh and carefree then, I think, frankly, we got a little burdened during the run of the show with having to be the do-gooder and all that, because it's not Jason.
What was a young Jason Priestley like to work with at that time?
A lot of fun, actually. He and I had a lot of fun after, too.
I love working with Jason. He is a dear friend of mine, and we have been friends through all these years together. We did the new 90210 last year, and I remember saying to Jason, because I was nervous about, getting back together with everybody. And I said, Jay, you gotta be there, man. You gotta be there. You gotta have my back. And because I was really nervous about it. And he's just a stellar human being. And he's blossomed into an incredible man. He's a wonderful father. He's, just, I could not say enough about, I have been you are bringing up all my blessings.
At the expense of being, too flowery, that one of the highlights of this 30 years in this business, theater, etc., was walking on the set and meeting you for the first time. And I'm not lying. I tell people that honestly every time, because you are one of the finest people I've ever been on the set with, or at a dinner table with, and I mean that. I tell you that.
Christina came with such a fine pedigree, has done some amazing work. I was actually excited to work with her. I felt that having a chance to work with Christina would elevate my work, and it did. So, I thought, what? She was perfectly cast. We had a certain sameness, a similar look. She did have that regal air about her. She was Christina, a joy to work with. She and Jed both. I love those days because, they brought a more seasoned sensibility to the work, and they would bust chops and have fun, and it was nice. It was nice. I never really looked at her like a mom. She was just always friendly. I mean, in front of the camera, yes, of course, but just fantastic working with Christina.
What was it like working with Ian?
He was so incredibly supportive, and all along I always felt like he was rooting for our characters to go the distance. I think Ian had such an incredible comedic timing, and I didn't know it at the time, but I had sort of comedy in my veins, and we just had this great banter, and we had so much fun working together. And I think we both just sort of energetically had this really nice rapport, both professionally and personally. True gentleman, total professional, and he was really fun to play with,
He was the first adult I was the mother of. Which was, I mean, in the sense that I had been Ricky Schroeder's mother. He was 12.
Right.
I had played mothers of, and this was so different. And I fell in love with Ian. I just thought he was so wonderfully available and present and excited to be doing what we were doing. And I was surprised when I watched it how very emotional these scenes that, the scene before you left, the scenes in the Chucky show. And there's I think we just always had a really good innate connection. Because I just thought he was adorable, and everybody likes people to feel that, and I think he knew that I just really loved working with him.
What was it like working with Tori?
I just love that girl. She's open and inclusive and goofy and self-deprecating, and I really clicked with her. And she also has got a pretty strong and focused sort of comedy chop sort of thing about her. So every time we had a chance to play together, it was really fun.
To be able to be a part of something, the way that Paige brought that character to life and made her so vulnerable and so real and so relatable was really kind of knocked the walls down for people and made it, something that they could talk about.
I'm always really impressed at how talented Shannon Doherty is. Shannon Doherty really can say a lot without saying anything. And my favorite work on the whole show is the scenes I did in the first episode with Shannon.
Yeah.
She's just so grounded, and I just feel I really believe she loved Dylan, like so intensely, and that's really sweet.
Shannon is very sort of internal, and sort of she's like can be very private in her work, whereas Tiffany is like out there. So she'd come on, and Tiffany's a real gal, if you know what I mean. I mean, she'd come on with like gangbusters, shaking hands, hi everybody, and she's big and she's loud, and in some ways more like me.
Yeah.
So we hit it off right away.
Tiffany and I, when she came to the show, and we found a lot of common ground right away, the two of us. So communication with her was very easy, and she's very talented. And
Anne and I developed and her husband Jeff developed a very, very close relationship. She was incredible to work with. She just one of the most wonderful human beings ever. She was a wonderful actress, but just an even better person. She was great. I loved working with her.
It was lovely. It was so, it was fun because it was the second season, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm back. This is so exciting. And it was quite wonderful to work under those circumstances and to be treated with so much respect on the set. And Matthew was like my set husband. So it was very fun.
Joey delivered the line beautifully, and it didn't seem stiff. It just seemed warm. Yep. And he was the surrogate dad, and he delivered.
Really nice stuff. And now we have some of the other things that were said here
Dean
on the
Cain's
show
story
about that. I feel like everybody throws bullets at Shannon enough, and Dean Cain threw something at Shannon about she got the storyline changed because she didn't want a guest star to break up with her. This story is floating around. Do you have a comment on Dean Cain's story? Is there any validity to that storyline that Dean has created?
Not only is there no validity to that, there's very little validity to Dean Cain.
I did most of my scenes with. This was right around Christmas. We were shooting around the Christmas, and there was a break in between, and we came back and shot the final couple scenes or episodes. And there was a lot of discussion at the makeup mirror and waiting off stage where we were both next to each other about this wonderful Christmas party that she was throwing with all the top drawer liquors and all the best catering. And that conversation happened repeatedly. And I'm just like sitting there thinking, well, sooner or later, she's probably going to say, hey, you want to come? Never happened. So I felt a little alienated with that, and it wasn't so much not being invited to the party, but to have it discussed day after day after day. Everybody would come over. It's like, oh, you're coming. Oh, good. It's going to be the best party, and blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I guess I am chopped liver here. Yeah. And I haven't seen her before or since, and I'm sure she's a lovely person, but I just was kind of put off by that, and so. In a way, maybe that helped my character because
revenge. Yeah.
I might have taken a little bit of that feeling on camera.
I wrote to Jason right away. I screen grabbed that, and I was like, Jason, is she insane? Because there's no way. And Paul Wagner did say, hey, the girls might not be nice, the guys will be nice, but like that's as bad as it got. That cast is very nice, and if they don't like me, they just go away. That whole don't make eye contact is, I'm going to call it what it is a lie.
Andrea is played by I won't say it. Andrea's a different character than Donna.
Yeah, Andrea wasn't the boss's daughter.
Okay.
Donna.
He said it. Yeah,
I said it for you, Chuck.
You heard me give a lot of love to our crew.
Yeah.
Not the sound crew in the first season, however.
Good.
And really, the most contentious person, I don't even know his name, so I can't be maligning him. But there were two people, the person who Diana Valentine replaced,
Okay.
our script supervisor, and the guy who held the boom. And as it was explained to me at the time, who didn't know production that well, that the boom is such a shitty job that only people who are unhappy become boom guys because they got to keep their hands up.
No, or the son or nephew or relative of the sound guy is often.
Right. Well, that came about in season 2 on. They were, or no, season 3, because they were a union guy. They came in at season 3, right. And they did it. So we have fewer booms, but we had a lot of booms. Why? We didn't ever hire, I guess the ace boom guys.
I was really impressed with how it all kind of came together, because at first I just so hated the family of the Scanlons. I'm saying, people, this is so annoying. I know we have to go through this, but I don't want to be with these people any longer. Right. I was totally watching Doug. I was going like, shouldn't be in the show. I hope they're going to kill him, and they did. I mean, I know I shouldn't say that.
That's not a good thing to say.
There's no way the other kids are ever going to accept him. He's like,
Larry.
This is a sweeps episode, Chuck. Pivot to promote. Someone's going to die tonight on Beverly Hills 90210, and it's Doug. Thank God. I feel so bad. I like that. But when I think about it, it's like nerd versus nerd. There were 2 nerds on the show, and only one could survive.
I know what you mean.
Brian had to grow from the
Brian
death of the other nerd.
Brian could dance.
Exactly. Brian could dance. That saved him, and God bless him. Brian really, he's terrific.
I love.
Hopefully his chickens are well.
Charles, I love you talking about the boom operator too, because
the boom guy.
I told you the first 12 were tough. So you expected, the network was a little hostile, and this was hostile. Your boom guy on the set. I mean, come on. Why are you getting mad at me?
We should have him on the show. We should have him on the show. We could track him down.
I'll track him down.
We should track, because he probably has the credit on IMDb, and we'll just see the first year that he was on. And we'll just invite him on, and he can apologize.
That's what you think. I'm going to invite Doug Emerson on, and Doug Emerson's agent to be.
Doug is a sweetheart.
Oh my God,
one of the nicest guys in the whole world too.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to have him on the Super Show.
I understand where you were going with that. All right, listen.
Just looking at it, coldly from afar.
All right, we have, like in the intro, one of the things that has been exciting for me is getting to meet all these awesome other fans, and then meeting some of the press that's turned out to be super fans as well. So here is a little bit of love and we've gotten the opportunity to surprise some of our fans with some of the cast and all that stuff. That's been a lot of fun. So here is looking at some of you, the fans, and some of the friends of our show.
But I'd like to start with a confession and tell you, Brian, I love you. I have dreamt about you. I have written about you in my diary as a teenager. I just have to
really? Let's turn this, Maggie. If you had an opportunity to talk to David in that time, and this had happened to you, what would you have said to David at that time?
If I was Ariel or Donna?
If you were Donna, what would you have said?
I would have said,
"How could you say to him?
Whoa. How could you?"
I'm listening. I'm listening. Hi, Maggie. Hi, Corey. How are you?
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Good,
I knew you were going to do this.
You have to do that.
You are so
to do this.
You look so good. Maggie, I always mess with you. You can't really see much.
Do you have any questions for Brian in general or about this episode that you would like to know?
No, I don't know.
Maggie, how have you been?
Good.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
How fast is your heart beating, Maggie?
Let me get a drink. Hold on. I have my
drink. I've messed with Maggie now a couple times. We had a fundraiser that she was gracious enough to buy a ticket for, and she was a part of, and it was a ask me a question thing, and of course she didn't have much of anything to ask me.
Liar.
But it was But I just hit her on Instagram before that, and at which point she was like, she didn't believe it was me. So it was good. Yeah. So it was good messing with her on that, and it's good messing with her on this.
It's always good messing with Maggie. Yes,
it really is. Maggie is a good person to.
I get a lot of hackers, and I'm like, this isn't you. So
Lisa says, "I'm so jelly of Bags and Mags. They are going to be on TMZ next." Okay, let's hope for Maggie. Darren Martin, Chuck and Larry and I wanted to bring you on the show today because we think the world of you. And I wanted you to know that we appreciate you very much and what you've done for the fans over the last number of years. You've just been such a loyal fan and whatnot, and you bring everybody together. You are the example of 90210. And I know this has been a very rough year for you. You've gone through quite a bit. And I was talking to you on Facebook a couple of days ago, and I asked you, of all the guest stars, which guest star would you most like to meet? How about this one?
Yeah.
Jennifer
Grant. Oh, that's so cool. Celeste.
Hi. Hi, Darren.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Hi there, Jennifer.
It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, I've always been a huge Celeste fan. I know you were only on for a couple of seasons, but you've always been one of my favorites.
Thank you. I'm so glad Larry, that you all wrote me into being, really.
This is so awesome.
For Darren. And
oh, thank you. This is so cool.
Yeah, that was
my face is like so red. Right?
Yeah, it is very red. It is red. You all see the red. Yeah, I'm a little red too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great.
Thank you for being part of my favorite show of all time. I mean, I know characters came and gone over the years, but of all 10 seasons, you were like my top favorite guest star. And I thank you so much for doing what you did and for having this great chemistry with the cast. I know it's hard to join a cast that's been established for 3 or 4 years, and you joined and everybody just loved you instantly, and you did a great job, and you're an amazing actress.
Thank you, Darren.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Zara, the reason, much like Darren Martin, the reason why we brought you on the show was because we wanted to tell you that since we started doing this show, we have fallen in love with you. We think that you are an absolutely amazing person. Congratulations on your graduation. And we really do think the world of you here. We think of you as almost our number one fan. Now, if you recall, I asked you about your favorite guest stars. Dana Barron, meet Zara Brown, one of your biggest fans. Zara, do you have anything that you would like to say to Dana?
Who's speaking? I don't have any questions, but I just want to say I admire you. Your acting on 90210 is like amazing, and I'm just so blessed to like be a part of the show as a fan.
Thank you.
I have no words.
That's amazing.
Wow. I've got goosebumps.
Me too. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Hi, Gabrielle. I was the nerd in high school. I was the class of 92, and I felt like I was just like you, like your character. I was the head of the yearbook club because we didn't have a newspaper, and I just grew up watching the show, and I know that if the internet was like really around during that time, that you would have had a blog. Like I have a blog. All my issues.
We would have blogged together, Aisha.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, hey, Jason, Connie, I'm going to add her to the room here. She won a contest to get to ask you anything that she wants to ask you for the first 5 minutes of our broadcast.
All right. Hi, Connie.
Jason, Connie. Nice to meet each other, right?
Hi.
Hey.
So what you got for Jason?
You know, I have been thinking for days because I didn't actually think that I'd win the contest. And I'm like, what could I ask him that I wouldn't have already seen or read? And I don't really have much, but I see a lot of questions in the group, and I think people just want to know where do you see Brandon Walsh in 2020?
Good question.
Wow, where do I see Brandon Walsh in 2020? Oh, wow. That's a very good question.
I mean, I think I love this show dearly. I too was 9 when I watched this. I was like 99 when I started watching. But I think unlike every other show, it didn't condescend. It didn't talk down to people. It was like, hey, like we're not just gonna have this like Brady Bunch, life of like, hey, Bobby Brady hall monitor. Like it was kind of real. This is friendship. This is Karen. You got me. So the hall monitor. This is what friendship is. This is what love triangles are. This is what like having a talk about sex when you're in high school is. And it was never like pandering. Like, and we're going to talk to the kids about what kid life is like. And so, everyone has BS radar, and no one's BS radar went off with us.
I mean, I think my big thing too is how groundbreaking it was. I think we forget how groundbreaking it was and all the topics that it covered. When you think about what over the span of the 10 years, all the amazing issues it took on that I think we kind of take it for granted because shows do that more now. But at the time, that wasn't the case. I think they really, when you think about even, the drug problems, the alcohol problems, cults, sex. I mean, also, I think there's a certain innocence too, right? Like Brenda and Dylan having sex for the first time was a huge deal. That would not be a huge deal on a teen show anymore. I think the other thing is it really is the granddaddy of all shows. I mean, we would not have Dawson's Creek or The OC or any of these other shows without 90210. And I think people don't always know that really what kind of paved the way for people realizing, hey, there's an audience for this type of show. Teens want to see this type of show. Like to Jessica's point, teens want to be treated seriously. And people who are no longer teens but want to remember those years. I mean, because I watched, after I even outgrew the demographic, I still love those type of shows.
I mean, for those of us who grew up watching it, it was just one of those generation defining shows. I started watching it when I was 9 when it first premiered. And at the time, it was really the only teen drama. I didn't have cable and I hadn't seen Degrassi. And so for me, it was like my introduction to teen TV dramas. And the other shows I was watching were like Saved by the Bell and sitcoms. But 90210 was obviously much edgier. It had an authenticity. It was talking about issues I really hadn't seen on other shows. And I was just obsessed with it. It was just the show everyone watched. I watched it every week with my mom, and we would actually take the phone off the hook so we wouldn't have any interruptions during the episode because that's how we later did for Melrose Place too.
Amazing.
I collected all the merchandise. Like I had the Brenda and Brandon dolls. I had trading cards. I had books that were like episodes adapted into novels, and I would, read them even though I'd watched it already. I had Teen Beat posters that worked out and all over my walls. And I also think the characters were very well defined. I think even as the storylines got a little more over the top, I think the characters and their relationships just felt very real, and viewers cared about them, and that's why we're still debating, Brenda versus Kelly all these years later.
Right.
And the dialogue was well written. There are so many lines from it that have just stuck with me, and I, can still quote now. And we were talking about the next 50 years earlier, and I still remember David's whole monologue at the end about, what about my old best friend? It's like so many of those quotes are just kind of, like stay with me. And also just the nostalgia factor. I think watching it now kind of brings back the same excitement I felt watching it for the first time. And it's like reuniting with old friends.
Really, really beautiful stuff with the fans. And of course, all of the great press fans that have come on the show too. Really some really sweet moments. That's been really fun for me to get to see happen. We've come a long way with Zara, guys.
Yes, I love Zara. She's the best.
She's amazing.
The thing that I was talking about when we were talking about in the Patreon, we were talking with Joel Heimovitz, who really was the CEO of Spelling, and although he was pretty modest about it, pretty much saved the company when it was in some really rocky financial times. And in talking about the the whole experience about Aaron, here we are, we're enjoying this. Here our relationship with the fans, and we're very fan centric. Aaron made this television show and everyone he made for the fans. He didn't care really about critics. He cared about the bottom line, of course, but his motivation was the kind of relationship that we're picking up with our
fan base here is what motivated him, that he got so much joy from.
That's really nice to hear. Awesome. That's a great interview we did too on Patreon. That one's going to drop tomorrow, actually. So it's been a lot of fun doing those business interviews. They're very fascinating. People are fascinated by these things, Charles.
Yes. There's no business like show business.
I love it when you sing.
No.
Another Charles singing clip. It makes me so happy.
Oh, well, I have to say this to you again. You know, that you'll cut this, Pete. Okay?
Yes.
You'll cut this. But this is actually funny. You know, I had thought for my speech for the big wedding of 400 people, what could I do to embarrass Avery and my daughters? And I thought that what I would do was threaten to sing in my falsetto in front of this Platt family where all these are professional singers and things. So obviously I tell that story in the Zoom and said, no, I'm not going to sing now because the bride, Hannah, sang a beautiful song in the wedding, and we're not going to do that. And we're talking about the big, but I told them I have a really good falsetto, et cetera, et cetera. And we're talking about, well, someday we'll have this really big party. And someone said, and everybody will dance. And I said, wait a second, you mean everybody will dance? They go, yeah, everybody will dance. Well, in that case, everybody dance now. So I got it.
That's amazing. I love that. Oh, that's great. Well, I mean, that's appropriate. I know you said cut that, but that's appropriate for where we're going next because you could
use it. Yeah.
Good segue.
The whole thing is music has been important on this show, and we've had a few little surprise musical performances, and I think things that shocked us too. So here is some of the musical performances that happened here on the podcast. And Beth wants to know if we can get you to sing "I Want to Sex You Up."
You guys really want me to sing a piece of it?
Yeah. That was Beth. You guys is us, and that's Beth, but we'd like to hear it too. Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Come inside, take off your coat, I'll make you feel at home. Now let's pour a glass of wine, 'cause now we're all alone. I've been waiting all night, so just let me hold you close to me. 'Cause I've been dying for you, girl, to make love to me.
Oh, amazing. That's cool.
She's getting an ovation.
That says OMG. I'm okay. I'm sorry, Beth.
That was great.
That's a great thing.
Thank you.
But I also just have to point out, you know, it was a really good song to choreograph, and that was the reason to, and I Like You, and it was a romantic thing. The other song, and I think I've told you this on our first one of these podcasts, Pete, the other song that was brought to me was, and it sounded so crazy that someone would be going, everybody dance now, and it wouldn't fit the narrative. But I remember being in there, Karen, with Jordan Booty, and we both went, "This is the song we should be using, so we're going to be using this one instead."
You don't have to do this, but this is keeps popping up in the board. Would you sing the chorus of "Hold On"?
Oh shit, he's gonna do it.
Twist his arm. Twist that man's arm.
Oh man, I'm getting chills now. Jesus.
Let's see.
We were so excited to see this the first time you played this. We couldn't believe the gift.
Yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to see you ever sad, and everything I've got you can have. So will you take my hand and feel how close I am? 'Cause there ain't nothing I won't do for you. Hold on till you feel a little stronger. Hold on to me. gonna be alright. Just hold on to me tonight.
All right. Oh
man.
That's fantastic. I like the
Thanks,
version of it
Jamie.
too. The
Thanks for
phrasing
letting
was
me
great.
do that. Thanks for letting me.
Man.
Oh, that
So
Jimmy
cool.
Walters. I just still can't get over it. I loved that so much. So much.
Yes, agreed. He's just such a
Uh,
talented guy. Absolutely.
Whew.
Well, guys, we're coming to the end of the show here and of this look back in this year. It's been an absolutely amazing year doing this, and we're so thankful to all the fans that have tuned in to the Beverly Hills 90210 show. I know it means everything to me. Anything you guys want to say, Charles and Larry, to the fans that have been following us along in this crazy year that is 2020? Larry?
We should, looking ahead, we've got some special stuff planned. We got the international, show we're going to do off time so we can really involve some of our, friends in Europe and Africa and South America and also keeping our Australian and New Zealand friends. So I think there's a time that's going to work just perfect for everybody. And, we got to get Tiffany on the show. I mean, that's part of the thing. We got to do that. There's a couple of people. We're really looking for David Gale. If you happen to live in the Tampa area and you've heard of David Gale, who plays Stewart, who, Brenda Lopes with, we're looking for him. He's been elusive as heck.
Yes.
And who else we've been?
Jason Wiles.
Jason Wiles. At least we're in contact with. He's going to do a show with us. So we'll have our Colin Robbins show. And I know, and then we got January 6th, which is great. You got, I'd like to be at least be part. I want to see what's going on with that because I've never seen that episode, and I,
so
love
good.
More and love Chuck. I know it means a lot to him, that episode, and I've certainly seen parts of it. So that's good. But it's great to have everybody here and just know that we have this supportive community that we somehow created. Happy for everybody.
Very nice. How about for you, Charles?
Well, looking back over the years, overall, how many do we end up doing, Pete?
So far, I think 45. This will be the 45th episode. Plus,
with both
Patreons. Plus, you have to remember there's other bonus things. There's the 90 News. So there's a lot of content.
But I mean the Wednesday, Friday. So when Larry and I
think it's 45. Yeah.
45. Yeah. So what you guys? So I sure wish, looking back at this, that I would have waited before the 39th show to realize, maybe I need a ring light. It was okay. I could hide my scowls and my, you by having little light, you didn't actually see the blood pressure rising as Alan Toy was talking. It was good reasons to be in the dark. And I look forward to 2021. No more than my daughter's birthday in January, Maxine, because her birthday is January 20th.
Nice.
So we're looking forward to that day.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Melanie, from the side of saying like it started as a fan for you and then converting over, any great look backs? Anything you want to say in closing on this episode?
Mostly just I'd like to express my gratitude to you three for allowing me to be a part of this. I think it's been great to watch how much progress that the podcast has made in such a short period of time. So many podcasts can go on for years before they reach the stride that you have reached within such a short period. So, I'm just impressed with you guys for everything you've pulled off. And I think my 90210 resolution is to help get Tiffany on the show in 2021. So, we'll keep plugging away at that. But just thank you. It's been a real bright spot in the year for myself, lots of other fans, and, anyone who's been involved with watching or coming on the podcast. So thank you.
And just another thanks to Lily and all of the fans that started with us and are still watching, and Zara and Darren Martin, who's been a huge help in the beginning when we were trying to get people to talk about the show or get them to come on. He's
also into the report. Aaron,
Sarah.
And Sarah and Jessica Shaw, all these really terrific people who join us. And
Perry.
Perry, yeah, oh yeah, gotta
Perry.
Perry brought a whole new energy to the thing, and talking about fashion, she gave such a unique view, and I can't wait to have more shows with her and all of the people we just mentioned in 2021. We got a lot of really cool things. We're going to be building up to a big Valentine's month, right? We're going to be talking about couples. We got some really super special episodes coming up, and I think at some point, Larry and I have and Charles have talked about a mega show. I don't know that we know what that is yet.
No.
But we'll figure it out. But here's
a mega show.
Mega show, right? Yeah.
It's hard to beat the Super Show and the
Yeah,
Super
I know
Deluxe
I'm getting
Christmas show.
Pete, I know I'm getting old, but when did we have a conversation about a mega show?
No, we have.
I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to get it on the record. You know,
we have.
Mega show. You
I
guys
think
are
I
telling
said,
me
you
what
know,
the
I think the Super Deluxe show almost became a mega show, and that's what happened. We realized we still had the mega brand to brand a show.
Got a branding.
Yeah, but I gotta point something else out. We've almost been talking for an hour and 48 minutes. Are you sure this isn't the mega show?
Yeah, I think this might be the mega show. You're right.
Mega, baby.
We're in it.
Mega.
We're in
My
it.
God! All right. Well, hopefully,
Mega all the
I'm gonna-
Quakers be forgot. Mega all the Quakers be forgot.
That's it. All right.
Good
Guys, thank you again for a great 2020 for all those listening and watching. We can't wait for 2021. And this has just been an incredible year for my journey. And thank you guys for all of us taking this journey together. It's just been a blast. So let's play us out. And Happy New Year, everyone, too.
Yay, Happy New Year.
New Year.
Acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne.
All right. We are here on the very first episode here of the Beverly Hills 90210 show.
I'm well. How are you guys?
Before we leave, just many thanks to Todd H for putting that video together. Very nice work. And if you're listening on this on the radio and wonder what was going on in the audio, there is all really cool shots of people waving goodbye and saying hello. So go check the video version of that to look back on. So, all right. Thank you guys so much. And we will see you back here on January 6th when we are going to talk about a very awesome episode. So we will keep you posted on how that goes. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Beverly Hills 90210 and Melrose Place are back on their very own channel.
Sure you ready for this?
This is something we are going to remember for the rest of our lives. Watch Beverly Hills 90210 on Pluto TV.